Generating traffic and sales can be a challenge for online merchants. But selling on the Walmart Marketplace puts your products in front of millions of customers who shop on Walmart.com. And right now, sellers who join Walmart Marketplace can save up to 50% on referral and fulfillment fees for the first 90 days. So get started today. Head over to marketplace.walmart.com/savings. That's marketplace.walmart.com/savings.
Welcome to E-Commerce Conversations, a podcast by Practical E-Commerce.
What's going on, Internet? Eric Van Oltz here, back again with another E-Commerce Conversations. Hope all's going well on the other side of the Internet. On the other side of the table from me is Shreya, right? Or is it Shreya?
Shreya. You got it perfect.
All right. I'm a terrible person with words. But with Hyve Clean, how you doing?
I'm doing so good. How are you, Eric?
I'm doing fantastic. It's a nice sunny day here in Austin. And I'm excited to share your story because I really dig what you're building.
Awesome. So great to share how I've gotten here.
Yeah, well, tell me about that. What's the story?
Yeah, so Hyve really is a product that was created because I really couldn't find what I needed. On the one hand, you've got products that kill 99.9% of bacteria in your cleaning products, right? And so they're what we think of as effective. And then on the other side, you've got your more natural cleaners, which really just impact the surface. They clean the surface, but they don't really get to the actual bacteria. And so I was just one of these people who knew I wanted to clean more naturally, but I didn't know how. I tried the DIY. I wasn't really happy with, the brands out there that kill everything and that basically give off fumes when you're cleaning. And so I just kind of lingered in between the two, going back and forth until probably about a couple of years ago when I learned about the power of beneficial bacteria. And I learned about those because I was into gardening and gardening naturally. And I realized that there's so much you can do with beneficial bacteria in your garden as opposed to pesticides. And then I thought, well, why can't I use this in my home? If it's so good in my garden and on the vegetables that I'm growing, that I'm eating, why can't I bring it into my home? And so I started doing a whole bunch of research, and I learned pretty quickly that beneficial bacteria are actually used in many other industries. It's just not very widely used in the home. And so did a lot of research and figured out how to bring those probiotics into my home in the form of cleaning products. So now I had the effectiveness of the products that kill 99.9%, although we're not killing the bacteria, but we also were able to clean the dirt and grime. So we're the best of both worlds. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally on board because our deodorant has the same mentality, like work with nature rather than against it. I think about I'm just going to do some free marketing for you guys, but like those cleaners that kill 99.9, what you're doing is you're creating like a completely open killing field, essentially, where only the strongest will survive. And then they kind of take over. So you're almost like creating the cycle of even worse bacteria by nuking it. So, instead like enhance the ones you want to keep around so they've got the power rather than the ones you don't want around.
That's right. So when they killed 99.9%, there's a 0.1% that was strong enough to withstand all of those toxic chemicals that you put on them. And those are probably the more harmful ones. And so what we're doing is we're creating a protective barrier or a shield, really, when we lay down the beneficial bacteria that are actually food grade. The bacteria in my products are food grade. And those bacteria basically biocontrol the harmful bacteria. So you've put a shield down. Those bacteria can actually go to places where your other cleaners cannot reach. Oftentimes, in a little bit of science, but the harmful bacteria and even beneficial bacteria hide under what's called biofilm. And traditional cleaners can't penetrate the biofilm to get under there and get the bacteria there. And then also, when you use the products, you're laying down bacteria that can stay there for up to 5 days, continuously protecting you. And so, we use bacteria in our gut, and I think more people are becoming very comfortable with supplementing gut with yogurt, kimchi, kombucha. A very similar concept. So putting the bacteria down as opposed to annihilating everything is really what we should be doing, much as Mother Nature has done for eons.
Yeah. The other thing I really like about your business model is you're not shipping a bunch of water, which I think is quite brilliant. How is that going for you, that kind of strategy? Are you getting any kind of traction or feedback or, positivity or negativity with that process?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people, they really enjoy being able to mix the water in, right? It's part of the process of putting the cleaning products together. And you're right. Shipping water costs a lot of money, and in all cleaning products, it's probably 95% water. So why pay to ship that across the country? One of the key tenets of the business is really to be mindful of the earth. And so if we can reduce our carbon footprint, that's what we're going to do. So our products are in 2-ounce concentrates that get poured into a reusable glass bottle, because I always felt so guilty throwing away a 24-ounce plastic single-use bottle into the recycle bin when I was out of a cleaning product. And we know that those plastics don't get recycled. Much of them just end up in a landfill. So carbon footprint with not shipping water, as well as reducing what we're putting into the landfill with the reusable glass bottles.
Do you have any quality control issues with the different waters around, like hard water or soft water, or I don't know anything about water. I'm not a water scientist, but I would imagine that would affect the performance of the product slightly. Or do you recommend distilled water? Or?
So when we formulate the product, we are using a distilled water.
Okay.
And so that's what you're getting. So there is, even in the 2-ounce concentrate, there is a portion of that that's water. And then when you mix it, we just say tap water. But we haven't really seen any issues with people using tap water. I guess distilled water could be used as well, but that requires going to the grocery store and buying the gallon of distilled water. We wanted to make it as easy as possible. So tap water is perfectly fine.
Yeah. So is this your first business?
Well, yes, the first business that I've built. My husband and I actually own the Pachugo down in the 2nd Street district. We launched that back in 2006, and we were there for about 3 years.
What? I don't know what that is.
Okay, sorry. It's a gelato shop out of Dallas, actually. We were franchise owners for the Austin area.
Okay. And then did you sell that and shift focus? Or?
Yep, sold that and really just went back to corporate America for all of these years. And actually, I'm still in corporate America.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll make this my full-time job pretty soon.
So I want to, this is fun because you're in the early days of the business where you just learn so much so quickly about what works, what doesn't work, what mistakes. Are there any really early lessons that you've had to pivot super quick, or talk about some of the early wins and losses?
Yeah, well, I'm a solopreneur, and I think that that's always a difficult journey to be on. At least it has been for me. And I think one of the things I would have changed is I would have plugged into the ecosystem a lot sooner so that I had a group of people by my side. And I'm slowly but surely doing that now. There's an amazing ecosystem of CPG founders here in Austin. And so I'm slowly getting plugged in, and I've really enjoyed that. So that's probably one of the things I would have done differently, because I've been on this journey for a couple of years now. It's been about a year since we launched. But that whole formulation process, and there's so much that goes into it before you actually launch. And so I think it would have been beneficial there. And then really maybe PR and marketing, right? Everything's so digital nowadays. And especially since I'm e-commerce based, I don't have a brick and mortar, I feel like having perhaps a more solid foundation around the marketing strategy would have been beneficial.
We had Jamie Schmidt on the show, the founder of Schmidt's Deodorant, who is an incredibly talented and successful entrepreneur. And she started Schmidt's at what are they called? Farmers markets around there. So granted, this was 2011, but have you tried any of that or just digital so far?
Yeah, so just digital so far. We're about to launch on Amazon, and we would like to get into the farmers markets. That was actually a early strategy, and then with COVID, things shifted a little bit, but we're looking to get into the farmers markets now.
Yeah, I think, what's really going to be your challenge, in my opinion, is it's such a new concept for a lot of people. It's, in my opinion, the right concept, but there's going to be this you've got to destroy 20 years of marketing telling people, kills 99.99% of bacteria. So what is the education plan? How do you get out there and really try to help people really understand the science behind this?
You hit the nail on the head. The education is probably the most difficult part of this. And so if I have a chance to speak to someone and I can explain how the bacteria work, it's a lot easier. And with e-commerce, all I've got is the website, right, to tell the story. We're trying to undo all these years of marketing where I do say brainwashed. We've been brainwashed to believe that the word bacteria and bacteria in and of themselves are harmful to us. And that's just simply not true. There's actually more beneficial bacteria than there are harmful bacteria. And so that is the challenge. And, that's a great question. I do podcasts like this so that I can help people begin to shift their mindset. It is a scary concept when you've been led to believe that bacteria could hurt you. But in fact, they are very much our friends, just like they are in our guts. And so I like to make that connection between gut bacteria and bacteria in our home because I think that that's what people can relate to. And it's the same exact thing. We've got a microbiome in our gut, and we have a microbiome in our home. And so the same thing that antibiotics do to your gut bacteria when you take them is the same thing that we're doing to our homes when we use these cleaners that annihilate all of the bacteria.
Yeah, can you imagine being on antibiotics your entire life? And that's what people are doing with their cleaning products.
That's right.
Around the house, or, a lot of different items that are designed to kill everything. So deodorants.
And not to mention the toxic fumes that we're inhaling, right? And so the skin is our largest organ. And so when you use these products, you're absorbing it through your skin, plus you're inhaling it in your lungs. And so the folks who work in the cleaning industry, they're the ones who are most impacted by these toxic chemicals. And it would be nice to just change the narrative around what clean means, how we define clean, and how we clean the areas around us.
Mm-hmm. One thing I wanted to touch base on was, we talked about this beforehand. You have a 13-year-old son and a corporate job in this side hustle. Like, how do you do it all?
Yeah, well, I have a very supportive family. I actually grew up here in the Austin area, and so I have a lot of aunts, uncles, cousins, my mom, my sisters are in this area, and so it takes a village. And then I've got an amazing husband who really does carry a lot of the burden. And so it's been actually pretty easy. I know it's not as easy for a lot of other folks, but it has been pretty easy because I do have this village that surrounds me to help raise him. And then balancing corporate America. I always say I've got my 9 to 5, job, and then I've got my passion job from 5 to 9. And that's kind of how the day goes, 9 to 5 and 5 to 9.
Yeah. When did you officially launch?
So August 4th, 2020.
Okay. So you just celebrated your first year.
Celebrated my first year.
Your first year. Do you have like milestones that you're shooting for, or when that transition to full-time happens, or is it still kind of like day by day?
It is day by day. I think I'll know when the right time is sooner, hopefully, rather than later, but just kind of taking it day by day.
Now, this product is also really geared in towards like subscription business model. Is that something you guys are going to lean into or focus on? Or
Yeah, so, one of the things that I wanted for myself when I was DIYing my home cleaning products was I just wanted the products to appear on my doorstep, because what I found was I would run out of the ingredients to make my cleaner. And so when my husband was going grocery shopping, he would just go pick up whatever cleaner was on the shelf, right? And so I thought to myself, wouldn't it be so nice if when I ran out, I could just have some more appear on my doorstep? And so we've actually had quite a number of people sign up for the subscription because, much like me, they just want the product to show up. And with our subscription model, you can set the quantity you receive and how frequently you receive it. So maybe you clean all the time and you want one every month, or maybe you clean very infrequently and you want maybe one every 3 months, or 2 every 2 months, or whatever it might be, right? So it's kind of a choose your own adventure for a subscription. But I think a lot of people really like that, and like that they don't ever have to really order those products anymore.
Yeah. How has it been? We touched briefly on marketing, which I usually think is the number one issue that new entrepreneurs have. If you never heard of this before, it's a new concept, a new idea, you've got to take a little bit of a risk going after a young brand. So what are some of like the things that you really feel confident are working for you versus things that you don't want to do again?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It is. Marketing is the biggest thing. And you're right. It's a new brand, and it's all about trust, right? When we buy our products, we're buying because we trust. And so we've been working with a handful of influencers because we think that our best advocates are the folks who have used the product and that believe in the product. So we're not really paying influencers.
Are you searching for like certain size followings or?
Yeah, micro influencers. Okay. Yeah, micro influencers whose followers really trust them and depend on them to vet different products before they will advocate for them. It's really important to me. In fact, I've had conversations with local influencers. One in particular was advocating for a cleaning product at the end of 2020 and said she'd be willing to work for me in the first quarter of 2021. And I just said to her during our conversation, I said, well, how authentic is that really, right? Are they going to believe you because you were just shilling for this other brand in this last quarter? Needless to say, we didn't work together, but it's really important for me. I think that, we've got very loyal users of the brand, and they go tell people that they know. And again, it's that education, right? And so they're helping us to educate and to tell the story of the beneficial bacteria. And so that's probably the biggest thing that's worked for us.
What kind of influencers are you looking for? Are they, mom blogs or?
So folks who are probably already leaning into the kombuchas, the more natural type stuff, because they understand the way bacteria work. And so that's an easier sell because they've got that background. But moms as well, because, I think this is great for getting the toxic chemicals out of your home. My sister just had a baby. The baby's 6 months old, and she cleans her entire high chair with Hyve. In fact, we don't use anything but Hyve anymore in our home. And she knows when she's spraying that on her high chair that she's not going to get sick. And if she takes food off of it, she's not going to have to worry about, any chemicals being on that food.
Yeah. All right. So I don't know. What are you most excited about? Like for me as like the ADD entrepreneur, like the new brands and getting out there and getting the feedback and all that stuff is like a drug for me, those first sales. And a year in, is it still giving you that high?
Yeah. So I still pack all of my own packages with a handwritten note. And I'm always so excited when I see the orders come in the morning and I get ready to pack them. So yeah, that's still very new and very exciting. And I look forward to the day when I don't have to pack them myself anymore. But this whole journey's been really amazing, and I wouldn't trade it, for the world. I'm on a mission to change the way we define clean. And if I don't do anything else than just that, and you begin to think about what you're putting into your home and how we could be cleaning differently, then I will have succeeded.
Yeah. You mentioned you're still doing fulfillment, I guess you're wearing all hats, right? You're 100% owner. And I assume your husband or your family helps you. Your son's old enough to pack up boxes and stuff like that. So get all hands on deck. But what are the strategies that you're going to have as you continue to build the business? Do you want to, kind of keep a lot of things in-house, or are you looking to, work with third-party partners and keep it pretty lean as you grow? What's your vision for building the organization?
Yeah, so as a first-time entrepreneur at this level with a new brand, I'm just kind of taking each day as it comes, and I'll determine what's going to happen in the future kind of as I grow. But as of now, keeping it very lean, everything's being done in-house. Hopefully at some point, I'll be able to outsource, maybe to a fulfillment center. In terms of production, I'll have to figure out how that goes. I'm not quite sure, the formula cannot be patented. And so I've always just been a little concerned about that. And so that might be the last thing that we outsource, but definitely the fulfillment, I think, would probably be one of the first things that we outsource.
Is this a pretty stable, shelf-stable product, or is it something that you have to move pretty quickly?
Yeah, so it's really shelf-stable. One of the things that we pride ourselves on is transparency. So in the cleaning products industry, you don't have to be transparent with all of your ingredients. They can list just a handful of ingredients, but there could be so many more ingredients in the formulation. We have 8 or 9 ingredients depending on which product it is. So we're very transparent. There's really nothing in there that will become unstable, and the bacteria themselves can survive up to 2 years in that concentrated form. So very shelf stable.
Yeah. And then not as temperature sensitive here in Texas, so you don't have to worry about
correct
air conditioned units or something. Yeah. That's nice. Yeah. Our products melt. So
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the business models, to me, it's kind of like the perfect business model for e-commerce, where you can have that introductory kit with a reusable container, and then the smaller shipping where you keep the costs down and automate it. So like the potential is there to just really, grab it by the horns. Are you seeing a movement in the marketplace where a lot of companies are moving this direction and you have to move quickly? Or is it something where, if you execute, you'll still be able to get your market share?
Yeah, well, we definitely need to execute pretty quickly because I do want to be known as the brand for clean products with probiotics. But we are seeing, in general, probiotics and skincare is growing by leaps and bounds. And I think we're going to begin to see it in so many other products. There's really no downside to beneficial bacteria. And so definitely you're going to see an explosion of probiotics and other types of products over the next 5 or 7 years. So we'd like to be the recognized name for cleaning products with probiotics. And so that really is the urgency for me.
Yeah. So one of the things that I also like to think about is how we're going to grow business. Is it going to be bootstrapped, or are you going to raise money, or have you thought about that?
I have bootstrapped for as long as I can do that. Again, not really knowing what the future holds, having done this really my first time. I think that as well will be a decision that I probably have to make in the next, 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
But again, that'll just be something that I decide when the time comes. Bootstrapped for as long as I can actually do that.
Yeah. Why are you leaning towards that?
Really just to have full control of the company, to really be able to be the person in control of the narrative, in control of the products that we put into the marketplace. And really, I've just never, I guess, been in, as an entrepreneur earlier with the franchise gelato shop, we had someone telling us what we needed to do. Mm-hmm. And it would have just been really nice to kind of do things our way. And so from that experience, I'd probably say bootstrap would probably be the best. But, that may not be the best option for me down the road. So we'll see when the time comes.
Yeah. Are you running into any cash crunches now, or are you guys funding it, or are you able to take any kind of profits from the business?
So no profits just yet. I'm working my full-time job really to fund it.
Yeah.
And so I'll keep doing that as long as I need to until I feel like I can probably let go of it. But I really, I feel like there's a lot of things I do really well. And there's a lot of things that I know that someone else could do better than me. It might take them 1 hour, and it would take me probably 5 hours and a lot of pulling my hair out to figure out how to get something done, let's say in marketing. So why not pay someone for their time if they can do the job so much better and so much quicker? And so I use my full-time job, my day job, to fund those types of activities.
Yeah. That's where it's challenging, right? Because you can only do that for so long before, you focus on the things that, I think for any of the listeners out there who aren't entrepreneurs yet or want to become entrepreneurs, I think Shreya is a perfect example of like the sacrifices that you need to make. And, she's smiling as she talks, and she's very friendly and upbeat about it. But I know just from my experiences how stressful that can be, how challenging it can be, how much people put into their businesses with the risk of the uncertainty of what's going to happen. So it's very admirable to see someone pursue that and to hear those stories and to hear, the wins and the losses and everything you're going through. So,
well, I'm a risk taker.
Are you?
I am. I'm a little bit of a risk taker. And, I really, at the end of the day, Eric, I want to really change. Again, I've said this a couple of times, our definition of clean, because how lucky are we to be able to focus on getting rid of bad bacteria off of our countertops, right? When I know that there are millions of people in the world today who drink that same exact harmful bacteria in their water. So we are very privileged, and that's what drives me, because at the end of the day, if I can make this a success and change how we define clean in the U.S. and Hyve becomes a success, I can then take those funds, and really what I want to do at the end of the day is impact clean water technology somehow for those millions of people out there who don't have the privilege of drinking this clean water. And so that's my ultimate goal. That's what I want my legacy to be. That's why I've got Hyve. It's part of the story. It's changing the narrative, but in a different way here in the U.S., and then going forward and really impacting as many lives as possible. So that's what drives me. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. And my dad always used to say, I was raised with this, we came empty-handed and we're leaving empty-handed. So why not take the risk?
Are you guys doing like a B Corp? Is that part of the business strategy, or do you have like a portion of your profits or revenue going towards that?
We do. So we're not a B Corp yet, but we'll probably make that change in the next couple of years. We do give back to 1% for the planet. So for everything that we've sold, a portion goes back to 1% of the planet. And we're really interested in supporting those clean water initiatives globally, because clean water is very near and dear to my heart. I wasn't born in India, but that's where my parents come from, and I've traveled there many times, and I've seen the way people live there. And so to impact them would bring a huge smile to my heart, really, and that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah. I visited India back in 2011, and such lovely people. I was going to try to start a business outsourcing accounting services. Needless to say, I'm not doing that currently. But it is a bit of a culture shock to see how they live and the opportunities for improving conditions there. So that's pretty dope efforts that I hope you're able to see success in.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's really important. And happiness is not necessarily the material stuff. And when you go to India, you travel to India, you see people who are so happy, right? Smiles from ear to ear, and they don't have a lot, but they're happy. And so it's an amazing country. And I'd love to, not just in India, but clean water technology everywhere, I think is really where it is for me.
Going back to you talking about how you're a risk taker, is that something that you've always been, or did you learn it or adapt it over time?
Yeah, I think I've always been a risk taker, not physically, right? So jumping cliffs and doing all that stuff, that is definitely not me. But risk taker financially, yeah, it's always, I didn't grow up with very much, and I know I can live off of very little. And I've been fortunate in corporate America to be very successful. And so again, going back to what my dad used to say, we came with nothing and we're going to leave with nothing. So why not use the funds that I've been able to accumulate, trying to make this little bit of a difference? If I fail, I'll at least have failed very valiantly.
Yeah, well, it's just money, right?
It's just money.
And you're not taking it with you.
We're not taking it with us.
I'm actually the opposite. Like, I think I'm very risk averse, especially kind of financially, and that's why I'm an entrepreneur. Because like working for corporate America, you could be fired at any time, like it's out of your control, right? Maybe I'm more of a control freak than I am a risk taker.
Averse.
Yeah, or something like that. So, I think it's almost like I used to be a financial advisor. So I'm going on a little rant here. But there's kind of like always multiple risks to everything. And your skills are going to be understanding all the risk. So like in financial advice, there's the volatility of the market and how those go up and down. And that's the one everyone focuses on. But there's like a secondary risk of inflation, which no one sees. And if you're not exposed to enough equities that kind of like hedge the bet against inflation, then you're essentially going to lose your wealth through that. So there's that invisible risk. So for me, because I'm risk averse, I have as much money in equities as possible. This is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor anymore, so don't take that as advice. So it's almost like you can have like a thought process, a contrarian thought process, and it still like fits in with, it's almost contrarian to what you would think would be, risk adverse or something like that. So
yeah, I do think it is a little contrarian, because I do think being an entrepreneur is, that's, to me, that's a huge risk, taking a huge risk, right? A steady income in corporate America versus giving it all up to pursue the dream.
But it's like belief in yourself, it's that self-confidence. It's, like, I don't know. I love entrepreneurs so much because they just exude that confidence of wanting to change the world. And
yeah, I would agree.
It dawned on me one time, like a number of years ago, when you just drive and you look at all these houses and you see all the supermarkets. You just take them for granted as that's just the way they are. And then you realize they were built by someone. And the world was built by those who build. It's not built by the best. So like you have to go out and you do it. And then as you do it, you're shaping the world, you're changing the world, you're putting your imprint on it. So it takes really special people to lead that. And I think I'm very excited for you to hopefully make that mark and kind of shift the narrative towards probiotic cleaning products and, hopefully things beyond that.
Well, I appreciate that, Eric, and appreciate you having me on the podcast today. You know, this is, again, another opportunity to educate folks about probiotics in their world, really, not just in the limited sense that they might know it today. So thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, where can people support you, learn more about you, about your products?
Yep, so you can find us at Hyve Clean, HYVE Clean.com. That's where we sell our products.
Are you on Twitter or anything?
We are not. We are on Instagram and on Facebook. Hyve Clean is our handle, so you can find us there as well.
And if I assume at this point, if you email them, it's coming to you.
Yeah. Yes. I am the jack of all trades for now.
Great. Well, thanks for being on the show. This has been another e-commerce Conversations. Hope you were able to take a nugget or two away from this like I have. Cheers. Keep on growing.